Here we go.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day, KMers, wherever you are. We love you all. So we are today in another event of KMGN, the KM Global Network, trying to unite and spread knowledge on knowledge management all over the world. And we are now not only meeting in an event of KMGN, but specifically in a series that Annie Green and I run every second month. We have it 6 times a year. And this year, and maybe it will be a tradition that won't be only this year, we decided to dedicate our roundtables or our shared sessions every second month to sharing knowledge on what happened in the Knowledge Global Week in specific continents. So as you may know, we are running already for 2 years a Global Knowledge Week on the third week of October, and beginning of June, I will start sending out reminders. So please, those who didn't yet book the time, schedule some event, please start thinking what you're going to do on the Global Knowledge Week this year within your country, within your network, within your organization, within a school, wherever you want, or maybe even globally. We are open to all kinds of events, activities, festivals, celebrating together knowledge management, awareness to knowledge management, knowledge and knowledge management. And mainly, we want to drive more desire, not only willingness, to do KM in organizations and in society. So I'm going back to the series that we are now handling, and every second month, we try meeting another continent, asking what they have learned or what are the best learnings from KM Week in their continent. Why? Because in KM Week, we have over 100 events and no one can take them all. So we're taking the best of the best. And we were already in Asia 2 months ago in March. And we were in January in Americas, US and Brazil. And already I'm speaking for July with Australia. And Manfred, don't forget, or please be aware, on September, we will come and learn what's happening in Europe as well. So that's our plan for this year. 5 continents, sharing the knowledge. And I'll say that then we will take some time because on October, we will have the Knowledge Week itself. And on December, we will handle again a different type of event, speaking about KM Trends 2026. So that packs this series and the events that we are speaking on. And now I don't want to waste too much time. And I want to let Kolan from South Africa lead this session because every time we ask someone from the specific continent, and now it's the turn of Africa to lead the session on what happened in KM Global Week or Global Knowledge Week in their continent. Kolan, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Levy. Colleagues, we're indeed very excited to take you through our lessons from Africa. So it is indeed a wonderful day for us. And once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We gather not just as individuals, colleagues, we gather as a community united by a common purpose to reflect on our experience from the 2024 Global Knowledge Management Week, to share lessons we have learned and to evaluate the strategic objectives of our remarkable event. For me, we are building on the objectives that we have set for ourselves in 2023, that as a South African Knowledge Management Society, we are committed to foster a cohesion or a cohesive KM community that address both our local, national, as well as regional challenges. So we speak, and today we are talking about knowledge sharing for Africa and by Africans. And we have engaged a number of African countries to celebrate the KM Global Week. And we believe that going forward, we'll have more and more participation going forward. So we are leveraging on our collective expertise to drive impactful solutions across Africa. And we gave ourselves a mandate to say, let's start with the SADC region. So this is not about knowledge management per se, it is about creating a future where our shared wisdom lead to real tangible progress. And often we go around, people ask you, what is knowledge management? What's the value of this knowledge management? Can you really show benefit for it? So in our case, we have colleagues, identify impactful industries. The academic network, we have looked at the global network, we've looked at the local government in our space because of the service delivery that they have, particularly in localizing sustainable development goals. So infusing knowledge management into that space. We also understand that in our continent, we work very well with the public sector, the private sector. So, and at times working within with the state-owned enterprises that assist government to implement a lot of government initiatives. And so it's very important for us to not only look at ourselves as professional care, but also look at the industry that are impactful in our space. So we have today two of my dear colleagues, who's Lillian Santi, the director of e-research knowledge unit in the Human Science Research Council of South Africa. And we also have Kilebogile Mosmege, who is also the Deputy Director, Information and Knowledge Management at the Department of Cooperative Government. So Lillian will share more from the perspective of the academic network, where also our research council fall within, and then thereafter we'll listen to Kilebogile sharing her experience in terms of the global KM Week 2024. So I don't want to waste too much time, given that we have only an hour. So I will want to invite you, Lillian, to step forward and then share with us what you have prepared. And we are going to reflect a lot in terms of what is it that we have done. And I believe that we are learning from this experience so that we can improve for 2025, Morea. Go ahead, Lillian. As you share your presentation, I just want to invite everyone to say, colleagues, feel free to put on the chat box comments, compliments, and questions, and then we will fill them to our colleagues here as they present. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kolani, for the warm introduction. But before I proceed, I just want to check and confirm if my screen is visible.
Wonderful.
It is indeed.
Great.
Just move it to share mode, play mode, yes. Works.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Colleagues, this afternoon, I'm really humbled by the opportunity to be presenting at this forum. And I want to firstly just thank Kolani for putting us together, in the SADC region and making sure that we are able to really impact knowledge management as far as creating visibility in our area. I also want to thank you, Morea, and the knowledge management, our network, global network, for this opportunity, because really it does show that there is things that are happening on this far side of the corner, and we are really taking this opportunity to ensure that we do share those best practices and insights. And thirdly, I really want to appreciate my colleagues, who are joining me from the HSRC. I can tell you honestly that the Knowledge Management Week that we had last year, 2024, is nothing without the support of the colleagues. And I really appreciate that they've actually joined today. And it's really on their hands that I'm able to share and present on what we have today. So really, that is my way of just coming into this platform as I just welcome everyone and take them through my presentation. So mine today is really to build on what has been indicated, that we had our Knowledge Management Week in 2024. And as the HSRC, we then sat back and did a reflection in terms of lessons and insights. And this was quite important for the purposes of us being able to think. And I think, as you mentioned, Maria, we are now thinking of this year's Knowledge Management Week. And already we are excited. We've come up with a theme because really, when we build on the success of what happened last year, we do see that it does have a very important meaning for our organization as far as knowledge is concerned. So that is what we'll be sharing today. And I just created just a short presentation outline in terms of how I'm going to go through my presentation. So firstly, I will be sharing on what was our intention around this Knowledge Management Week. And I think that's quite important. My husband always emphasizes to say, be clear about your intention as you start anything. And even with this week, we're also very intentional about what did we want to achieve. We had a specific theme that we worked on and also objectives, which we'll also share as part of this presentation. And then ultimately, I will then come through with some of the key learnings and resources and key takeaways that we now share and now use and apply in our area of work. Now, the Knowledge Management Week on its own would not be successful if we're unable to take those and internalize them as an organization in setting up our strategic priorities for this year, but also using them to reflect, because what we also did is we did a benchmarking exercise where we reflected in terms of the other academia, this is now the research councils, university, to get a sense of what is then happening in their spaces of information and knowledge management. And then lastly, I will then share what is then happening as far as Knowledge Management 2025 from our perspective. So we're really quite excited to share this presentation. So before I start with the intention, I just want to give a disclaimer about my knowledge about cars. I know little, basically, except for the fact that my car needs to be filled up, and if it doesn't start, then I'm quite concerned about it. That's me. And it's not a reflection on our females out there. There are other ladies that really know much about cars, but when it comes to me and cars, I really am quite stifled. But you can imagine that a car gives you so many signals in its journey. You know, different lights will go on to give you a sense of what is happening with the car itself. So lo and behold, at some point, some orange light came up in my car, and I then informed my husband to say, this is what is, this light has gone on, what is it telling me? So he knew exactly what to do. He opened the front of the car, he took out a dipstick, and then he said that this car needs an oil change, and we then subsequently move on to do that. And that analogy, colleagues, I'm bringing it forward because I want to share what was our intention behind us having this Knowledge Management Week. It was our way of us getting a dipstick into what is happening as far as knowledge management is concerned in our organization. Now, this was also an opportune time because prior to this Knowledge Management Week, I just started as the director within the unit. So I had no sense in terms of what happens around knowledge management, where does it start, where does it finish? And this really gave me a very good insight in terms of what are the levels of knowledge management in the organization, and also importantly, what are the levels of knowledge sharing through the participation. So mainly, colleagues, I'm sharing this to say that our Knowledge Management Week and the intention behind it was for us to share and have a dipstick and a snapshot in terms of the general status of knowledge management in our organization. Now, you might ask yourself to say, then why is this important? But I think as it's already in our name, we're the Human Sciences Research Council. We produce knowledge. We are producing journals, policy briefs, data sets. So our business is about producing knowledge. So it was very important for me to understand at what level, as far as this process is concerned, is our organization signaling. We are also about engaging in knowledge. Now that's important because we don't just create the knowledge that we create as an organization just for it to sit in the shelves, but we create it importantly for the purposes that we can engage our policymakers, we can engage government and other external stakeholders. So there we're able to test and get a sense of what is the level of knowledge engagement. So as an organization, those are the two primary, I'm not saying that other things are not happening as far as knowledge management is concerned, but those are the two primary key knowledge processes that we're trying to get a sense of through this Knowledge Management Week. And I must say, through this week and the theme that we prepared, I want to believe that we did meet the objectives of it. Let me just give also what was our theme. So our theme was about how do we elevate knowledge within the HSRC. Knowledge has already been created. Knowledge has already been engaged on, but we wanted to make sure that it is centered to the work that we do. And fortunately for me, I lead a research unit that already in its name, it's called the E-Research Knowledge Unit, which is about how do we enable the knowledge that is being developed in the organization. So that was our theme, and we did a series of brown bag sessions, online sessions that people were able to attend at various times because we did it to structure in such a way that people are able to avail themselves. And our objectives for this Knowledge Management Week were threefold. Firstly, we wanted to raise awareness about the importance of HSRC's data, information, and knowledge services. We do quite a bit, colleague. I've got a very big team of people that really serve this organization, and the work that they do basically needs to be expressed through the services. And we wanted to ensure that that's clearly understood across the organization. Secondly, we wanted to also share best practices and experience from other institutions around knowledge management. So what we did, colleagues, is that we did then invite other people, not only from within the HSRC, but also from other institutions for them to come and share, because we do believe that we don't have all the knowledge, but as we get other people to speak on what they are doing in their organizations, we've got a very good sense in terms of knowledge management and how it can be applied as we take it forward. And then lastly, our goal was to look at the role of technology in enabling our research practices in the organization. I don't think it's for me to speak about 4IR. We're already there and people are already moving on to 5IR. But what we're saying is that technology still remains very central in our ability as knowledge professionals to be able to deliver on the work that we do and enable, of course, some of the knowledge processes that we embark on. So there, colleagues, I've just given a highlight of some of the other key areas that were also mentioned in some of the presentations about how we are an enabler and about how we are looking after our open science. So there, the general theme is about how do we promote open knowledge. It's for us, it's not for us to keep the knowledge, but it's for us to open it up. And that's quite an important theme that comes through from where we are sitting. And then, of course, we look at the role of knowledge management in influencing the knowledge sharing culture. I think this is something that is quite important, and I'll speak about it a little bit more, because culture is not what we put on our walls and write on our websites, it's what we embody. And currently, as a country, we are really singing the tune to say we are proudly South African. And I'm also proud to be part of Team HSRC. And knowledge management has got a very key role to play in building the cultures of the organizations. And then lastly, as we said, we are in the midst of executing on our e-research strategy, which is also an important element. So those, colleagues, I hope gives us an idea as we continue with this presentation in terms of what is our overall theme and what were the key objectives behind this initiative itself. Over the next few slides, I will then just be going into some key takeaways, but I wanted also to signal as we get into the key takeaways of some of the presentations that we had about some of the things that are important, I've highlighted there, the African Open Science Platform. That is important towards us democratizing knowledge, and I'll speak about that as part of one of the presentations. We also speak about fiction, if I should put it in that way. That's a very important repository that provides access to some of the data sets that we have been building on over a long periods, and surveys that can be reused basically for secondary use. And then ultimately, I do share a book by Mr. Roger Forgeson around lean knowledge management. So as I go through this presentation, colleagues, I please ask that you do look at some of these resources and you do search on them, because they are quite important and they've been really instrumental as we take our work forward as an organization. So firstly, colleagues, the first part was for us to look at our capability as a unit and how do we support research. So our knowledge management mandate can differ slightly to how it looks like for other organizations. Our mandate basically as this particular unit, and at the time, we used to be called a center, but now we are called the e-research unit. But I wanted to be honest that at that point in time that we ran this 2024 Knowledge Management Week, we were the e-research center. But at the core of it, we're looking at how do we enable research processes in the organization. Our work really has to be embedded in all the research stages and life cycle processes of the organization, so that we are able to provide innovative services and access to information resources that our HSRC researchers need, but also the community at large and some of our stakeholders. So at the time that we did the Knowledge Management Week, our real core functions were around how do we provide information services, how do we provide geospatial solutions, and also digital curation, specifically looking at how do we curate our data and research resources for the purposes of for them to be reused. So I know geospatial solutions is quite a unique offering for a lot of, for us, even myself when I worked in this organization, but it's been quite key if I had to highlight that as I give this part of the presentation to say, this part of the work looks at how do we locate geographically some of the work that we do in terms of our research outputs and the data, but also offer it as part of our research services. So this is quite a unique combination, but this is what makes up this particular e-research center. And this is how we are building the research capability as the knowledge management team of the HSRC. So that was the first presentation that we delivered on day one of our virtual sessions, and that was hosted internally that was presented internally by one of our colleagues. We then journeyed into a presentation from NASA. So we really were privileged at this point, colleagues, that we had Mr. Roger coming in and sharing his experiences at the time he was the Chief Knowledge Officer, and hence the book that we also quoted earlier on. And this is an area that I think a lot of knowledge management professionals really want to get right, because once the culture of any organization is one that supports and drives and promotes knowledge management, and in essence, knowledge sharing, it really provides, it can really have a big impact on the work that we do. So he really shared very meaningful stories about what was happening at NASA at the time, and the fact that knowledge existed in the organization, but that knowledge was not being shared. It was not in the culture that people would come together. So unfortunately, there was a period of time, and I think specifically in terms of what he referenced in this particular, it was in 2011. There were some critical failures that NASA experienced at the time. So then his job when he came in, at least was to say, how do we learn from the past? And we take that for granted, you know. I've had the privilege over this last week to be at the National Archives and Record Services of South Africa. And they are preserving our history in a way that really for future generations and even for my own generation, I'm able to reflect on what happened to tell the story about what does it look like for me as an individual and a South African. And that's what in essence he wanted to do. So his mandate was to drive the sharing of knowledge, critical knowledge within the employees. And I think basically when you see the results that he shares as part of his presentation, is that that worked quite effectively. So my emphasis here was for us to recognize that knowledge management doesn't only sit at the level of the production of knowledge, but it can influence the culture, meaning that today NASA sits as a people that are able to share their knowledge. And that's equally important for us as our organization. As I indicated, we are about knowledge engagement. How do we engage with our policy makers? Because it's not good enough for us that we just have these research outputs, but we are unable to engage people that make decisions. So we are about placing it in front of them, and that's the knowledge that we are trying to build. And that's the kind of culture ultimately we are trying to build. So the lessons from NASA were quite important for us to be able to recognize the relationship between KM and influencing culture. We then moved on to a presentation on day 3 around open science. And this one, I think, is something that is close to a lot of us because we really want to work towards the concept of democratizing knowledge. Right now, I think a lot of funding models really sometimes can get away from that. But I think I must say from a South African perspective, the National Research Fund, our foundation, in its core mandate and in the manner in which it funds researchers, it does support this concept of open science. It says that please ensure that you make your data sets available. And that's what we do as this particular unit. We've got a very focused team that is also joining me today that is responsible for making sure that all the data sets that is being developed, that is being created and analyzed, but importantly, it's curated for the purposes that it can be reused by, and also for public policy development and also public discussion. So that is what we're trying to embody. And we had a very interesting presentation from a colleague from Wits University who really spoke about this mandate that I think all of us as KM professionals want to endeavor around. How do we promote the FAIR principles? Where we make sure that information and data is findable, it's accessible, and also it's reusable. And that is important basically towards promoting open access also of our research publications. So in a nutshell, colleagues, those were the 3 presentations that were unfolded over the 3 days. And I hope that I've just given some key highlights of the key contributions that we have also taken and adopted. And some also we recognize that we already are doing in our organization. But what we just need to do is really strengthen it. And that is at the core of the work we're going to do. As I now move on to post the Knowledge Management Week, as I said, at the core of that week was for us to be able to do a dipstick in terms of what is the state of knowledge management. But I was very fortunate that we were able to drive that further, and we did a benchmarking exercise. And here, colleagues, I'm just doing a brief representation of some of the things that came from the engagements that we had, because we also want to take this opportunity to say what is happening in our sector. And this is now research institutions, academia, as far as knowledge management is concerned. So these are just reflections from the benchmarking exercise that we held following the Knowledge Management Week. Data transformation becomes very key in the work of enabling our knowledge management processes and as far as technology is concerned. I think in Africa, it's still a very unique situation around the digital divide. It's something that a lot of us still experience. And one of the key things that also inhibit the manner in which we're able to drive knowledge management is because we are not totally transformed. And that is something that came out quite key and prevalent in some of the interviews that we did. Our role as KM practitioners is changing. We are now becoming data custodians, meaning that we are now responsible for the data management and also the governance around data. So we've been very specific to say we are the custodians. We're not the owners. We're not the producers of this data, but we're ensuring that we are curating and managing it in such a way that it is accessible. I think there's no presentation that you come across that AI is not mentioned. But what we are saying here for us is that we are now having to upskill ourselves and start to incorporate it in the manner in which we deliver our data, information, and knowledge management services. Particularly the issues of ethical considerations has become a very key reflection across the sector to say, how are we ensuring that we are checking up on any level of plagiarizing? And I'm very fortunate that in my organization, we are in the process of procuring an AI tool that will be able to check any submissions to check if they've been created by AI. That's just the reality of where we are, colleagues, and we need to be mindful of that. And then lastly, we look at how do we then introduce robots in our library system so as to ease our work, but also it's the way in which the work is moving. So this is just a snapshot of some of our findings, and I'm happy to engage following this meeting on what were the other issues that came out of that benchmarking exercise. Now we come to the bone of it to say, now that we understand what took place and we've got a general sense of what is the current status of knowledge management, we've done our benchmarking as an organization, what then becomes our KM priorities for this financial year? So we've been working very hard with the team. We are building the capacity, and we've got 3 main pillars, as you can see there. Firstly, we want to build the digital capability. We want to be able to promote research that is responsible research practices, that is able to have basic data collection analysis skills, but also with the use of specialized software. I think that's quite important in the world of digital transformation and the use of technology. Again, we speak about fair data. We want to ensure that we really adopt a lot more of the open science practices, and we extend our data curation and data stewardship functions so that we can be able to embed data stewards within our research projects. And ultimately, this is something that our CEO says quite a lot, is to say our research needs to have impact. So our unit is also responsible for being able to delineate what is the level of research impact through the assessments that we do. And then lastly, we want to build our research infrastructure by moving very closely to our cloud-based services and using any available software that will be able to enable us to do service in the most efficient manner. So these are the strategic priorities informed by what the benchmarking is saying, the KM week, and all the collective thinking around where do we take the organization. And of course, we are very, at this point as an organization, we just adopted our 5-year strategy. So our 5-year strategy really is for us to drive these priorities so we can be able to help the organization in achieving those. So with that, colleagues, it brings me probably towards my concluding slide where we say we are really excited and looking forward to this year's Knowledge Management Week. I know there's not particularly a theme that has been decided on, Maria, at this time, but as an organization, we've already thought ahead to say, what would be our theme, So we've proposed something. It still needs to be negotiated on, but it's around how do we promote knowledge brokering? Building strong relationships and networks to connect our knowledge producers and our knowledge users. This is quite critical. And a good example, just in closing, colleagues, that I can give is we've just been tasked to put together a policy brief on flood risk detection for the Western Cape. During our winter season, this area is very prone to very heavy rains, and we want to be able to be in a position of a document that our policymakers can be able to engage on. First of all, signaling to them that this is an area of risk that we need to advise on. And then secondly, what kind of mechanisms can be put in place? So from where I'm sitting, colleagues, we already are thinking ahead, and the team that is joining me today is already working to say, how do we then align it? Because there is a very special conference that the HSRC is going to be working on. So with that, Kolani, as I hand over to you, I would just like to do a very special thank you to these colleagues, because without them, that Knowledge Management Week is nowhere near a success. Our CEO, Professor Sarah Muswetsa, she is like our chief engineer. If my car is not working, she's where I take my car to. And I really appreciate her support. Ms. Salamina Mulamo, Mr. Roger Ferguson, Mr. Lawrence Lazarus Matirizwa, and Dr. Chris Chetty and Dr. Emmanuel Fundisi. I want to appreciate them because they did the presentations. I'm really sitting here filling their space, but they were the people that really shared their knowledge. And that speaks to what is the value of that Knowledge Management Week and us sharing our best practices. So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, and thank you for the opportunity, Sam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. And indeed, this has been a week of note. And I just want to say, this was your first your first in 2024. It was your first KM week that you have facilitated, and it looks like you have surpassed our expectation, and we are praying that you continue on that vein. Colleagues, I just want to encourage you to still give us, put your chat, your comments on the chat. I want to move swiftly and thanking you very much, Lillian, for sharing. I know that sitting down and reflecting, after almost 8 months or so, it might have been a very difficult task, but thank you for sharing. And moving along, we will move to Kilebogile to share her piece. And then, colleagues, the reason why I'm encouraging you to put on your comments on the chat is so that we can have a discussion at the end after Kilebogile's presentation. Go ahead, Kilebogile.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I think me and Zoom are not friends. I'm used to Teams, so yeah, I'm struggling on my side. But
Let's first ask Lillian to stop sharing.
oh, okay.
Lillian, can you stop sharing, please?
I did stop sharing, Maureen.
Yeah.
No, again, stop share. Wonderful. Now, yes, we still have a sharing. Stop sharing.
Okay.
Great. Great, great. Now,
And then Nikile,
please.
you can start from your side.
Okay. Okay, so you can see my screen.
We can see your screen
Yes.
now. Go ahead. Just put it on
Okay.
the presenter mode.
Yeah, it is on presenter mode on my side.
It is not on our side, so
So
maybe try to share.
To flip them, because we see the backstage and you see the front. You have there a small flip direction. You have two screens. Will take us a minute and everything will work wonderful.
Okay, so now can you see my screen?
Yes,
We
but
can
we
see-
see the. Oh, please, Colin, go on.
Please help me, guys. It's my first time using Zoom
so
on
on
presentation.
yeah, so Kilebogile, on your left, just click on the presenter mode. Maybe it will assist at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
Try to share again.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so we are seeing, maybe you can go to slideshow at the top. Yeah, try that.
Can you see it now?
All right. You know, I think we are not seeing it in a presentation mode.
But can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, yeah. Let me allow you to present it the way it was, because in the interest of time, yeah.
Okay.
Try to share and then let's proceed.
Okay, let me move. Let me open it. Okay, can you see it now?
Now we cannot move to your PowerPoint. We cannot see it.
Can I email it to you quickly, Kolani,
Let's
so that I don't
do
waste,
that. Do that.
I don't waste people's time.
Right. And then in the meantime, you can maybe start. You know.
I'll just continue talking while I'm sending it to you.
All right.
Apologies for that.
So, as you are presenting Kilebogile, allow me to just say Kilebogile is our current knowledge management South Africa chairperson, and she has been leading us since August last year. So you're almost closing a year.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kilebogile has participated in the KM Global Week 2 years in succession, and we are praying that you will continue doing so, Kilebogile.
No, we will definitely. Shanti has already started planning, so
we must. All right. I will share from my side as soon as I get it.
Okay, I've already shared it with you, but I think in the meantime, while we are still waiting for my presentation to come to you, I just want to actually thank the KMSA colleagues, because remember, you were the first ones to introduce the Global Week to us. I think it was at our conference in 2023 in August. It was a conversation that we had that time. And when we got back to the office, I think we just, jumped at the opportunity for ourselves as KM within the Department of Cooperative Governance. We saw it as an opportunity for ourselves to, reintroduce ourselves to colleagues, and also introduce the concept of knowledge management within the organization. I think at that point, we were still struggling to identify ourselves within the organization. We had tried a few things to do in the organization while we are establishing ourselves. And to be honest with you, the minute we had those global global week activities in 2023, it was like we were a new function that has just been introduced into the organization, and people were so excited with the different topics that we actually introduced during the Global Week. But I wanted first, before I can go into our celebrations, that just to take you through, us as a KM unit within the Department of Cooperative Governance. So as a department, our mandate is to give policies towards the local government. So we are the ones that have to report to Parliament and the people of South Africa on the performance of municipalities. We have to ensure that our municipalities are performing well. We give them the policies and everything that they do. So I just wanted to give you a background on us as knowledge management within the department. So our function has gone through a lot of makeovers that I think at some point it was not clear on the understanding of knowledge management within the organization. And I think now that we have sort of like reintroduced ourselves, there is understanding of what is it that we do and what is the purpose of us being in the organization. So if you look at this evolution that we put together, we just wanted to take you through so that you can see how far we've come as a unit. We've had different names. The last one before the current one, we were called Information and Database Management. We were, I think, reduced to us collecting contact databases and that kind of situation. But I think once we had a restructuring within the organization, then we found our footing and we started us as well as a directorate reevaluating the work that we are doing. And it has become quite a significant change that we have done for ourselves as a directorate and for the organization. And we are also moving into municipalities to assisting them with the work that they are doing. And that will be with some of the projects that we have planned for them. Can you move to the next one, Kolani? Okay, so this is just the composition of our directorate. There's just 6 of us, and these 6 people are expected to provide knowledge management support within the organization as well as outside the organization. But we are managing. We have a very supportive chief directorate where we work together in some of the projects that we do. So it might be the 6 of us who are doing the more technical work, but we have the support of some of our colleagues within the organization. The next slide, please. This is a very important, I think, win for us as knowledge management. When the department went through a restructuring, they identified their priority areas for both the department as well as the local government. And integrated knowledge management is priority 5 within the department. For us, that means that we are important, and also in the purpose of the function where we are tasked with ensuring that we get the knowledge base, which is situated in the local government space, and we bring it to the department so that better decisions are made on policies, on everything that has to do with the local government space. So that is our core function within the department, and that is what we are trying to also look at when we work with the municipalities. The next slide, please. So this is some of the challenges that we have identified, and based on this, it also guided our program for Global Week. When we started in 2023, we looked at the topics, the topics of note that were rife in the local government space. And that is how we actually came up with the program that we put together for the 2023 Global Week celebrations. And it was quite a very successful one, if I may say so myself, and I will go more into it when I get to that slide. But I think what we have noticed as knowledge management colleagues within the local government space is that there is a lot of challenges that we are facing. We had 2 workshops last year in knowledge management within the local government space as a department, and I think in both workshops they identified almost similar challenges, that the other one is pulling north, the other one is going south, the other one is going north. There's no collaboration, there's no coordination, and people are just working for themselves. They do not work with the mindset that at the end of the day, it's about service delivery. It's about ensuring that the people that they service get the best out of them. So those are the things that we are trying to also assist with by introducing knowledge management and knowledge management processes that they can implement and practices that they can implement within their municipalities. There is a lot of good that is happening. Yes, we always hear about the dismal performance of municipalities within the country, but there is municipalities that are performing well. We are trying as a directorate to document those best practices, to document those lessons learned, and share them with the colleagues so that they can see what is happening. These are the activities that we've been working on as a directorate, and we are doing this so that we can help both internally and externally. Our knowledge management strategy was actually approved this year, and it will run from this year until it's supposed to be 2030, not 2023. And after that, we are also we are working on our policy and our SOP, and bear in mind that whatever that we do in terms of our documents, whether it's our strategy or our policy or our SOP, we are not only thinking about us within the department. We need to also think how that would impact the municipalities, because we have branches within our department that look after the performance of municipalities, that have to ensure that our municipalities get the best service, and also they service the communities that they are situated in. So whatever that we are doing within the department, we must factor in the fact that whatever that we do has an impact on the work that municipalities do. What I appreciate about us as an organization is that we have a governance structure that is consisting of different units within the department that will guide us as knowledge management on how to do our work, provide us with some guidance, and it's also part of the team that worked with us on the strategy that was just approved. So going into our knowledge management global week, if you can go to the next slide, Kolani. So when we started working on the program for Global Week, we had an overview of what we want to do with that week. So if you look at the five points that are on the screen, that is what we wanted to put forward to people and say, this is what we want to achieve by hosting this different activities for you during that week, and we want you to come in and participate. So when we were sending out our invitation to the participants and also to our speakers and panel moderators, this is what we sent to them and said to them, look at this. If it aligns with your own objectives, please come and join us. And we had, a good participation during that week. If you can go to the next one, Kolani. So if you look at this one, I actually wanted to just to give you where we started. So this is what we did during our first year in celebrating the Global Knowledge Management Week. We started off on the first day. We had a session on knowledge management. So we wanted to educate the participants on what knowledge management is and what has happened. We had a presentation from Dr. Harlan Kluter, who has done a research study in the local government. So he went into municipalities and did his research on knowledge management, trying to find out what is the knowledge management landscape looking like in the local government space. And we had him to come and present to our principals and our staff so that they understand what is happening in the local government in terms of knowledge management implementation. And then the second day was just an easy day where we had something lighter. Can you please go back? And then on the third day, then we went globally. We looked at just energy transition. What is our role as knowledge management professionals in the just transition era? What is it that we can do to assist our different countries, different organizations in the whole transition that is happening? We actually had our former chairperson of knowledge management, South Africa, being part of the panel on that. And then on the last day, we actually had, we looked at issues that are affecting municipalities, and we took a topic that is related to the local government space, and we had that presentation on that day. If you can go to the next one, Kolani. And then in the 2024 Global Week, our first day started with a very important project that is happening in our department and in the local government space. There is a project on the reviewing of the white paper on the local government. So that is the first session that we had on that day. And I think it was the session that had the most attendance because this white paper affects every citizen of the country. So we had this session so that the people who are working on this specific project can come in and give an overview to everyone who attended on what is the intention of us as a department reviewing the white paper, how it will impact us on a daily basis, and what is it that is needed from the community of South Africa as a whole. How can we participate in the reviewing of the white paper? So that was our first session. On the second day, we had a very interesting session on data management. So we had colleagues from the Gautrain, from the CSIR. CSIR is the Council of Science and Innovation Research, I think I'm right, who came in, and it was also a very interesting panel discussion on how data affects us on a daily basis, how municipalities can use the data that they have to ensure that they provide services to their communities. And then on the Thursday we went global. We had someone from the World Economic Forum who came in and presented on their two platforms, which is the Strategic Intelligence Platform and the Global Foresight Network. So still, we were still on that data management drive, and it was quite an interesting session that, they highlighted the importance of data management, how you can use the data that you have to ensure that the decisions that you make, and also how the data that you have, how you use it to ensure that it works in your favor. So that was that. And then on the last day, we had a session on the professionalization of the local government space. That is a topic that I think in the country, it's at the top. We are having a lot of issues and a lot of audit queries on the people that are hired in municipalities. So we needed to have a conversation about that, people get to understand how important it is for all employees, especially in the local government space, in critical roles, the importance of them having the qualifications. So that is the last session that we had on the Friday. And I think from that, what we've learned is that knowledge management is not just about storing information. It plays a very critical role on sustainable development, innovation, and governance. I think people are still not understanding the importance of managing that knowledge that is created within their organizations, and especially for the local government, because it's an environment that produces a lot of knowledge. And I don't think they understand and know how to manage that knowledge in a proper way that can be used to better their services and better the lives of the people that they service. Also, we went that, better data management can help with service delivery, accountability, and strategic planning. So those are the things that we tried to put out there with the different presentations that we had on the day. The professionalization one I've also mentioned. Can we move to the next one, Kolani?
Thanks, Kelebogile. So we have a time constraint. So maybe you can just close.
Okay. Okay. Can you go to the other one, because I had two presentations in one. So if you can go to the next, I think it's the next slide. Okay, so all in all, what I wanted to mention is that the other one, as Knowledge Management South Africa, we are working on ensuring that knowledge sharing doesn't only occur within the South African space. In June, we will be hosting a knowledge sharing session within the African context. So we've invited, I think it's 4 colleagues from 4 different African countries who will be sharing their experiences from their different countries. We will share the invitation with Moria, and then she can share with the colleagues. And we welcome you to come in and attend that session. And then also we are having our conference in August. The call for papers is out. It's until the 31st of May. You can visit our website, kmsa.org.za, to get more information. And yeah, we look forward to seeing some of you at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelebogile. And I'm sorry for rushing you a bit there. But
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Indeed, there's quite a lot that we have done in the 2024 KM week, and I think the subsequent, benefit that trickled out of it. But yeah, we had it for 1 hour, and we are almost exceeding it. I just wanted to thank you, Lily and Santi, for the presentation as well. and to say that, we I thought requested that if you have got any question, please do ask. And I think there was one question coming from Manfred. Unfortunately, we might not necessarily be able to engage on it, but because it was more like a comment. But I want to invite Moraya to come and share what is next on this knowledge sharing endeavor. Hello.
I cannot see Moria right now, unfortunately.
Okay, so with that, I just want to say that I'm not so sure if Manfred, you have any information of what is coming, or is it Anne?
No, I'm on the wrong foot on this, but I think Moria gave you a quite insight in the beginning. So there will be another meeting in about 2 months from now. But I'm sorry, I cannot help you here.
That's okay.
So this is your show, Kolane.
No, thank you.
Also you.
Thank you. So now let me just thank everyone for making time to come and attend the session. We're expecting, just over 26 people, and then we were at one point above 40. So thank you very much for making time. And I think the idea is that let's continue sharing, colleagues. We are building a community of knowledge managers, and I believe that our effort is not only about managing knowledge, but it's about making impact in wherever we are in terms of our society. It's also about building capabilities for our different countries to deliver, because at the end of the day, it's about what is it that we can learn from this knowledge that we are talking about sharing, and making sure that our people in leadership, people in professional roles are able to deliver and execute on their tasks. And we are very honored that it looks like even in our country, Manfred, that we are starting to look at artificial intelligence in different platforms so that we can automate what can be automated. But with that, colleagues, I just want to thank you for the time that you have spent, and to say that the questions that you may have, please drop them. And then I think Kilebogile and Lillian will be more than happy to respond and share some of the presentation. This is recorded, so all the best. Enjoy.
Thank you for sharing. This was really impressive for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, colleagues.
Kolane,